This holiday, switch to Cricket Wireless and get a free LG Fortune with no annual contract.
Switch to Cricket. Switch to Cricket. A free smartphone is free. Free smartphone, really free.
Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
Requires number ported and service activation, minimum $30 per month. First month service charge and in-store activation fee up to $25 due at sale. Tax and restrictions apply. One-time fees may apply. See store for details.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
The Hagmann and Hagmann Report. That's right, the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We're coming to you live from our radio and television studios here in just beautifully dreary northwest Pennsylvania today. Again, live from our radio and television studios. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight, joining me tonight. Joe is not in tonight. Not that I gave him the day off. Apparently he must have. Well, he took a tumble and maybe broke his ankle. So it's going to be me flying solo, but not really solo. We have a very special guest tonight, Jim Mars. I'll tell you something. I just can't wait to get into the conversation with Jim Mars tonight. So, folks, saddle for battle. The hour is late. Time is short. We're being gamed every step of the way. It seems like it seems like every day there's a different headline with a different spin, with a different take, with a different crisis, with a different plan. Past is indeed prologue. Oh man, I'll tell you something, folks. It is getting to the point now where you just don't know what will happen next. As I mentioned, Jim Mars is coming up today. Doug flying solo, Doug Hagmann flying solo on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. HagmannReport.com. That's for news, information, analysis. HagmannandHagmann.com. That's our show page. Of course, we broadcast right here on the Global Star Radio Network. We're simulcast on Blog Talk Radio. I want to thank them both, BTR as well as Global Star. Global Star is the place to be, folks. Great network. Thanks so much, Todd, for carrying our program and being the great guy you are. We should all give him a round of applause, the studio audience. And, of course, you can watch us live right here on our official YouTube channel, Team K9. Folks, if you haven't done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our social networking feed. Tonight's broadcast brought to you, folks, courtesy of Minuteman Stove. It's right down there in the show description. MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com. Folks, if you, right now, in these uncertain times, oh boy, are they uncertain, it just makes sense to have a sustainable backup method for accomplishing one of life's most basic, most important daily task, and that's preparing food. You know, I made the mistake of not preparing, not really realizing, what we needed to cook food. I mean, really. And it was one day when my wife said to me, and I'm very serious about this, who's cooking, you or me? And with what? In the event of an emergency. And it was right around the same time that I was introduced to Lane Miller from Minuteman Stove. So, folks, MinutemanStove.com, MinutemanStove.com. Need I say more? More later, but the idea. You don't want to be eating freeze-dried chicken. It's not bad when you do the fruit, but I'm going to tell you, the meat is best served warm. I was in a restaurant the other day, and I ordered chicken. I asked for it medium, pink inside. Just kidding, of course. You had to be there, I guess. That just, Fell like a lead balloon, right? Single acts of tyranny may be ascribed to the accidental opinion of the day, but a series of oppressions begun at a distinguished period and pursued unalterably through every change of ministers, too plainly proves a deliberate, systemic plan of reducing us to slavery. Thomas Jefferson, and that's Thomas Jefferson as cited by our guest tonight, Jim Marrs. Jim Marrs's book, Our Occulted History. That's right, Our Occulted History by Jim Marrs. Do the global elite conceal ancient aliens, or more, what I like to ask, do they conceal a hidden agenda? And I think that they do. And of course, Jim Marrs has got a number of other books, including, and we've got them all, I think every one of them. Rule by Secrecy, Jim Marrs, and The Rise of the Fourth Reich. I don't have enough hands for the books he's written. This book is incredible, Rise of the Fourth Reich. This fits so well with what Steve Quayle has written. Just amazing. And what Peter Levenda has written and others. But Jim Marrs nails it. And I've got the $1 trillion conspiracy in my office, and I spoke at length to Jim Marrs today about tonight, what we're going to talk about tonight. And I got a feeling we're going to cover a lot of ground. So from our occulted history to a number of other issues. So are you ready? Are you buckled in? Are you ready? Are you saddled for battle? I hope you are. Without any further ado, folks, his website is jimmarrs.com, 2 R's. That's jimmarrs.com. Visit his website, bookmark his website. And on the program description, if you look, Amazon page, where all of his books are. I'm gonna tell you what an incredible array of books. He's written more than I could than I could ever think of writing. And I just finished, as of this morning, Our Occulted History. So if we have him ready, is he on? Ready to go? Let's rock and roll. Jim, how are you, sir?
Doug, it's great to be with you. I'm sorry Joe is absentee, and just be sure and send my best wishes and prayers along, because I hate to see anybody get hurt. I know my wife fell down the other day and came home feeling pretty miserable, but then she managed to get a good night's sleep, and she got up and kept going. She said now she's glad she's got that extra weight. It gave her some cushion.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, Jim. I often refer to Hillary because she is going to be propped up by pillows. I say, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Well, Joe, I think maybe this might have been some bad backsplash there, because Joe did fall down, but yeah, it's he hurt his paw, and double entendre there. But anyway, but he'll be back with us, I'm sure, on Monday. But Jim, it's great to have you.
That's great,
man. I'll tell you something. You have really nailed it with your books, all of your books. But if we can, if we can do something, because I thought this was great. After we hung up today on the phone, after we got done talking, I was just really kind of blown away. I don't know. Can you share the story about the title of $1 trillion Conspiracy? Is that okay to share that? Because I thought that really would.
Yeah. Well, hey, they can can't censor my mouth. Okay.
Well, after.
Yeah. What I was telling Doug today is, because he was giving me some very nice compliments about my book, The $1 Trillion Conspiracy, which was kind of covers what's happened between 2008 and now with the financial frauds and the near collapse of the financial system, and of course World.com and Enron and all these things that we tend to forget about. That at one point were major financial polls, supports for our financial system, and then they all crumble away. But I told him, I said, the publishers made me change the title. And I said, I don't want to change the title. And they said, no, we won't publish it unless you change the title to The $1 Trillion Conspiracy. I said, oh, man, because my original title had been Zombie Nation. Okay? Now, that would attract some attention, wouldn't it? And this, by the way, folks, was, you know, I don't know. I'd have to look and see exactly when that came out. But here, I can find here real quick. That was like 2000 and this was 2010. Okay? This was before The Walking Dead. This was before all the zombie movies. This was before the zombie genre got to be such a fad among, you know, young people and everybody. And the only excuse they ever gave me for changing the title from Zombie Nation was that they were afraid people might buy it thinking they were getting a zombie novel, okay? And as I explained to them, I said, well, number one, if they can't read the book cover and if they can't thumb through it and realize this is a nonfiction book, then they probably deserve to buy it, you know. And on top of that, from a mercenary standpoint, what's the problem? You're talking about increased sales. So obviously there was something other. That was just a cover. The other thing, and I think this is important, is that my editor, the person I was actually dealing with, he actually told me, he said, this was not my idea. He said, this came down from upstairs. Okay, so somebody upstairs, somebody I don't know who, I have no contact with, I cannot plead my case to, is making decisions on, you know, what the book cover is going to be. And let me explain why I wanted to use the title Zombie Nation. Because at that time, and to a certain extent today, everybody, I'm sure you all remember that after the 2008 financial slump, we had these banks insolvent. They were broke. But they got propped up by that public tax money, TARP, and the TARP money went to them, and they were still operating. So they're broke, they're dead, but they're still operating. And that's why the financial people then termed them zombie banks. And I'm sure most of you, if you'll think back, you'll remember hearing that term. So I decided when I was writing my book, I took a look at the numbers. This nation today is in debt to the tune of more than $20 trillion, okay, which is an unimaginable number. And yet I also saw that if everyone in this country, and I mean everyone, I'm talking about every man, woman, and child, if we all sold off all our assets, our homes, our cars, our TVs, our clothes, we probably could not accumulate much more than about $10 trillion, which means we're still $10 trillion short of the $20 trillion we owe, which means financially we're dead. But we're still operating. We all get up and go to work. We still get that paycheck. The computer blips representing our money is still there. So we are a zombie nation. And I thought it was quite to use as a title, but see, somewhere somebody said that might draw too much attention. That might be too simple. People might understand that. We may get too many people reading about that. So they forced me to change the title. It became The $1 Trillion Conspiracy. It was, and I have checked, mostly it was stuck on the financial shelf of the bookstores, which no one except just that small niche of people who, care about investments in stocks and bonds. They're the only ones that goes and looks at the financial shelf. And although it did very well, it was not included among my New York Times bestsellers.
You know,